Hello and welcome. I am Scrapperlock, and this is City of Heroes on the Rebirth server. We are with Quintessence Lass, our level 22 brute who has 229,000 experience, earned 6,000 to go to get to level 23. And given that I earned like 12 or 13,000 last session, this episode we should level. We are on a story arc for Rondell Jackson, and I will point out that he gave me another contact, but unfortunately it was Justine Kelly and not Andrea Mitchell. However, now he's telling me to go talk to Andrea Mitchell, so maybe this will lead into him giving her to me as a contact. I don't know. He says, I've identified one of the men you rescued from the Sky Raiders. He's General Tolliver Johnson. He used to be in charge of the Joint Command Special Threat Response Battalion, a special team of soldiers trained to fight superpowered threats. The battalion doesn't exist anymore, but I know a woman who used to be part of it, Andrea Mitchell. Let's go talk to her. So you get a clue. So we're working on this Sky Raider secret arc, which I don't remember a lot about. I don't remember if this is the one where you find out that they're working with the bad guys. I can't remember now. The Sky Raiders working with the other bad guys. There is an arc where you kind of learn about that, but I'm not sure. So you guys are digging around the history of vigilance. That's what we used to call the Joint Command Special Threat Response Battalion. Oh, they didn't call it the JSCTRB. Much easier to remember. Most of the unit was killed during the Rigby War. I was wounded shortly thereafter and left the service. I don't know what happened to the unit after I left, but at least I can ID the guys in those pictures. One is former Deputy Secretary of Defense Eli Hunt. The other is a former hero named Wayne Evans, aka Captain Indomitable. Indom was our advisor on the superpowered threats. Secretary Hunt was the man who got the unit approved in the first place. And you already know who General Johnson is. What they're doing together, I can't say. Yeah, so this is where the Sky Raiders, maybe we're supposed to, I can't remember this whole thing. No, it's one of the manufacturers, Aerotech or something, was making stuff for the government, and they're also making stuff for the Sky Raiders. I think that's what it is. So now we know that those men you rescued from the Sky Raiders used to be involved in military unit vigilance. What we don't know is what they're doing in Paragon City. Now that I've got some names, we can do some more digging. And then he says, I've got a lead on the whereabouts of Eli Hunt, one of the men you rescued from the Sky Raiders. One of my contacts told me that Hunt's making a visit to a research lab in Paragon City. If the Sky Raiders know about it, they might hit him there. I want you to protect Eli Hunt from the Sky Raiders. While you're at it, see if there's any more info you can dig up. Be ready, though. If Eli knows something, you may not have much time to act on it before the Sky Raiders attack. So let's go to King's Row. So as we go, I think I can talk a little bit more about D&D. In the last episode, I mentioned that I wasn't sure what was going to happen. My players may potentially be in a position where they need to invade the Shrine of the Kuatoa from Module D2 of the old AD&D days, and there are literally like 300 Kuatoa in this shrine. And I thought, okay, if there could be a party wipe here, instead of wiping them, I could capture them. There is one tunnel that goes off in a certain direction that I didn't block off in the map. There were multiple exits in the original map, and I closed most of them off with walls because I don't want to have that many exits because I don't want to deal with that. In the original module, you're supposed to be like, searching for the drow, and you're on your way to find the drow, and there are all these different guys. There's different tunnels that you can go through and different guys you can fight and meet and so on. And I wasn't going to do any of that, and I'm not going to do most of it. But I thought, okay, I could have a prison, but then, like, how are they going to get out of the prison? Somebody would have to help them. If there's a prisoner, if they can help them escape, why didn't he help himself escape? But then I got an idea, because in the original module, and the Sky Raiders are already here. In the original module, too late. In the original module, there are deep gnomes, the Sverfniblin, who are sort of neutral to good, and potentially willing to help the party and provide them with information about the Kuatoa and their shrine and stuff like that. And I thought, hey, this is a cool idea. I had initially created a sea cave with a tunnel that led off, and the initial intent was that the tunnel was going to lead off to straight to the shrine. And then I got the idea that, well, what if there's another tunnel section in between the sea cave and the shrine? And there are some deep gnomes, the Sverfnibelin, inside this tunnel, maybe mining. They're going to see the party come along because they're pretty good at detecting stuff underground. So they see the party come along. Maybe they hide. Maybe they reveal themselves. Maybe they watch the party and see what they're doing. They hate the Kuatoa. They are enemies. And if they know or discover or overhear that the party or see the party going up against the Kuatoa, this Sverfnibelin might be willing to help. So I could potentially have this Sverfnibelin like show up and help the party get out of prison or something like that. Or provide the party with sufficient information that they'll realize how many Kuatoa there are up ahead, and that they have to be very careful, and that alarms could be sounded if they just go head on, and things like this, and maybe some hints as to where they should look to find the treasures that they seek, which are the treasures that were stolen from Diana's holy, what do you call it, votive offering stash. All the valuables from her temple were stolen by the Kuatoa. So I like this idea. One of the things I haven't figured it all out completely. One of the things I'm toying with is Matt Colville, in one of his campaign diaries, was talking about how, and I'm gonna have to actually go back and watch it and see how he described it, because it's not in original D&D, and it's not in 5th edition, because I have the D2 module, which is where Sverfnibelin were first introduced. I also have Fiend Folio, which is basically a cut and paste job of the original D2 appendix with the Sverfnibelin entry in it. And so nothing in there describes this ability, and nothing in the 5th edition rules describes this ability. I don't know if 4th edition perhaps had this. So I'm going to have to watch his video about this. We're going to have to find it. But in his video, he described that his Sverfnibelin, or at least maybe as a leader, but the one that the party was working for, had the ability to phase into walls and move through the rock. And or maybe he could cast Pass Wall. I'm not really sure. But I like this idea that maybe not all of them, but some of them can move through rock. And so if they're observing, maybe from the rocks, they're observing what the players are doing, and they see them get beaten up by the Kuatoa and taken prisoner, they could meld out of the rocks and show up and say, we have a way to get you out of here. And they're not necessarily going to be able to help the players get the votive offerings back, but they may be able to take them to a tunnel that leads them to the surface so that they can get away, and then the players may just have to admit, we failed to get back Diana's offerings. And then they're not going to be able to get the clue that they need from that temple. Oh well, failure has consequences. But at least it means that I don't have to wipe the party if they lose, and that I can do something to help them get out that makes sense. And I keep moving these by dragging them by accident. These two buttons, Might and Shadow Punch. Okay, so the question is, who is up there besides... Yeah, see, that's what I'm worried about, is that Raider Engineer. I don't want him pulling the shield. There aren't any Raider Engineers downstairs, so I don't care if I aggro them. We're doing pretty well against these +1s. It may be time to bump the mission difficulty. While we're waiting for him to come back, we'll just come down and fight these guys. Porters are really annoying, and I'm not going to chase them. They always eventually come back, so my attitude is just stay here and punch them, and when they leave, let them come back. See, all three of them have come back now. So yeah, this kind of follows my design thread for adventures, where I come up with an idea and then I've got to work it and change it and modify it. I wasn't planning, I read through the module and I saw that this Sverfnibelin could, we're supposed to appear and potentially help the party and be friendly. And I was like, oh, that's just a complication I don't want to deal with. I'm not going to bother with this Sverfnibelin, the deep gnomes. But now I see why they actually put them in there, because it would be very difficult. And of course, there were 2 engineers here. It'd be very difficult for the party to fight an entire shrine of Kuo-toa. And it's not that the Sverfnibelin are necessarily going to enable the party, and I'm doing this so I can catch more of them in the radius if possible. It's not that the Sverfnibelin are going to like do any fighting for the party. They're not gonna battle the Kuo-toa, but they can provide the party with information. They can say, look, we've seen the shrine, and we can tell you, like, there are a couple of hundred of them in there, and some of them are pretty powerful, and they have breeding pools, and they have secret rooms, and we don't know where all the secret rooms are because they're secret, but we know they have a few, and if you're looking for the votive offerings, they're probably going to be here and here and maybe here, and so this gives them a target and a place to want to get to and sneak to, and they do have abilities like turning invisible and stuff, so they might be okay, especially if they get a little bit of info from the deep gnomes. I always like getting 2 or 3 guys. It's super great to get 3 guys in the radius, but I like getting 2. 2's awesome. Like that guy, I took him out without ever touching him directly, just by getting him in the radius of my punch a couple times. Why are these guys... These guys shouldn't be lieutenants. They should be bosses. I didn't change this. I did not change the setting. That's weird. I'm gonna have to check my mission difficulty setting as soon as we get out of here. That's the second time I haven't gotten a boss, and I absolutely did not change the setting, so I don't know. Great, there are 2 engineers. I'm probably gonna aggro both of them. Well, we'll try. Okay, it looks like we didn't aggro him. We'll stay nice and far from them. We'll stay right here. So as not to get noticed. And then we go straight for the engineer. And look at that. All the damage we do to multiple guys. We got a clue. Eli Hunt says, "You again? It seems your sources are almost as good as those of the Sky Raiders. I can't tell you what we're in the middle of, at least not yet, but Quintessence lass, I sure could use your help. When I came to the lab to have some technology analyzed, I sent my colleague, Wayne Evans, to investigate some shipping irregularities at a local warehouse. He's not answering his phone. If the Sky Raiders found me, they can probably find him. Can you go to the warehouse and make sure he's all right?" So now we're going to go to the warehouse. But first, I want to check the mission difficulty. Oh good, the warehouse is in Atlas Park. There is a mission difficulty guy in Atlas Park, so we will just go straight there. And we'll check it on the way. Make sure it's set to give us bosses, because it shouldn't be giving us lieutenants. That's weird. What do we get for enhancements? This is just, oh, side, yeah, but we don't need a Dio. And we're only still level 22, so we're probably not going to need any enhancements for a while, except for maybe our level 23 slots, but I'm not going to bother. You know, you guys know I don't bother putting in anything after the +3 level of enhancements, at least at this stage, because it's not worth it. You go through the levels too fast. At higher levels, it's worth it, like at level 40, because you're going to be in the levels for a little while. So somewhere back here is the difficulty setting guy right here. I don't want to fight bosses. How did that happen? No. We do prefer to fight bosses. So I don't know. I guess they're just not bosses in those missions. So yeah, it's interesting. I've tried to do some. The more I've tried to modify this old module that Gary Gygax wrote, the more I've realized he actually wrote it really well, and it's actually pretty cleverly done. And you know, it's really designed that the players have to think, right? And they can't just blow through it. If they just try to dungeon crawl through it, they're going to get swarmed and die. But there are ways to kind of sneak your way through. Now, of course, the original module has it so that the Kuo-toa will not prevent anyone from coming in to worship at their shrine, even humans. And so if the players act worshipful and act like they're worshiping the Sea Mother, which is not even in my adventure, because I have a different set of gods, then the Kuo-toa may allow them sort of passage through parts of the shrine, but they then have to figure out that upon getting through the shrine, you have to like pick up, you have to donate stuff, a lot of money, and pick up like a crab claw, and then the crab claw having the crab claw is evidence that you've donated the money, so then it's a pass in through the rest of the shrine. But you have to go through several layers of worshiping and do the right thing each time. And if they screw up, they could end up getting teleported to the Sea Mother's dimension and being hit with a Giaz, which is like a quest that forces them to go, like a spell that forces them to go on a quest for her. So I mean, there are lots of shall we say traps, and not like physical traps, but just things that could trap the players into getting into a lot of trouble. And you have to be really smart and really savvy, and be very cautious and careful, and not just steamroll ahead. You observe what's going on and think, and of course talk to the Sverfneblin and see what they know and that sort of stuff. So it's a pretty well designed adventure, actually. I like it a lot. It could be very dungeon crawly if they decide they want to just take out every Kuo-toa in the entire shrine, and it probably would be deadly if they do that. But I'm really surprised. You know, we played all the old D&D adventures mostly as written, maybe tweaked them a little bit. Their bombs were disarming. But mostly played them as written, and we thought they were pretty cool back in the day. And then as we got into Champions and Rollmaster, I have to admit that most of my friends and I had a relatively large amount of disdain for the old school dungeon crawl D&D modules, and that they weren't very good. But so I was expecting to have to do very heavy modifications of this module. Did I get him in time? Yeah, I did. But you know, and I have had to do, certainly to fit it into my world, yes. But I'm pretty much straight on putting what's in, what they say is in each room, For instance, there's a really cool, when you go into the library, you can actually find a map of the whole base. And you can also find some magic items. And what I did was, I mean, he put like uber stuff, because these are supposed to be like 9th to 12th level characters. They're very high level. My guys are only 7th level. And 9th to 12th in AD&D was like you're getting toward max level because some classes couldn't even go above 15th level. Not all of them could. And 14th level, I think, was max for druids. I mean, some characters just couldn't go above that. So a 12th or a 9th or 10th level character, they're a much higher level relative to um, players who can go up to 20th level in modern D&D, right? So it'd be like you're looking at instead of 9 to 12, 12 to 14th level characters of modern D&D, and my guys are 7th. So some of the magic items are super overpowered. Like there's some sort of a grimoire that allows that like super curses them. It's just like an unbelievably bad curse. There's a there's a there are traps that like banish them to the elemental planes and stuff, because at that level, spellcasters could cast plane shift and get back. Um, Now plane shift is a higher level spell, and so you like a 9th level spellcaster would not be able to cast, or 10th level or would not be able to cast plane shift. So so I changed some things in the library. I just put scrolls. I put a couple scrolls I thought would be useful to them. I also put stuff that I thought would make sense in a Kuotoa lair, like a scroll of protection from water elementals or something like that. So that makes sense, right? And but there's also a map. Of course, the guy that I didn't see is an engineer. 2 engineers. Um, so, but in this library, to get at this, there's a secret alcove behind one of the shelves, and to get at it, you have to. There are, and we've leveled up. There are these 6 lanterns hanging from the ceiling, glowing, right? And they're just providing light in the library. And if you pull on the 5th one of the 6, down, up, it opens this concealed thing, and there's no other easy way of detecting it or opening it. And so it's like, yeah, maybe they'll see this map, maybe they'll get to it. But odds are they're not going to find that or the scrolls. All right, so one of the reasons that they put really good treasure in those types of places is, well, if the players are smart enough and thorough enough to like basically yank on every single lantern until one of them reveals a concealed door, they should be rewarded for that. And so one of the differences actually. Oh, I missed. I didn't realize he was an engineer. One of the differences that I did actually, I made the map in Photoshop. I basically took the existing map and then I just turned it into a black and white map and took all the like decorations off of it. So it's just basically the outlines of the rooms. And one of the things that they said was none of the secret rooms that had behind secret doors would be on this map. And I said, you know what? I'm going to leave them on the map. If they manage to find this map, I want to reward them by letting them see that there are these rooms that there doesn't seem to be any way to get to. Like one of the rooms, you have to go down into one of the swimming pools that they have, and there's a grate at the bottom that leads to a pipe, and the pipe leads to a complex of secret rooms, and it's basically just an empty hallway. And at the end of the hallway is another secret door, and if you get through that secret door, there's a really awesome treasure room with thousands of gold pieces. So I'm going to put some really good treasure in there. And yeah, they're probably not going to find it. But if they do, it should be pretty cool because they worked really hard to get it. So anyway, I'm pretty excited about it. I'm going to actually be able to run it a lot more the way Gygax intended than I thought I would. And I think it's going to be pretty cool. But we'll see. They might hate it. You never know. But before that, they've got to go to the astral plane and meet my the sorcerer's girlfriend and all of that. And then I think after that, they're probably going to go to the port town of Ostia, which is the port of Rome, and hopefully finally meet that same character's mother so I can clear his background off the to-do list, and then he just can't keep bugging me that he wants to have more content about his background. I guarantee you his next complaint is going to be, yeah, but you did it all at once and then I have nothing left to do about my character background anymore. Look, dude, you're level 9. Your background stuff should be done. Anyway. Alright, let's call our contact who says... It's a real shame about Wayne's death. Yeah, so that body bag was Wayne's body. I really admired him when he was Captain Indomitable. I sure hope the file you recovered was worth his life. Let's see here. These are shipping records dating back to just after the Rick D. War. Apparently the warehouse Wayne was investigating was supposed to send some supplies to the new headquarters of that military unit Vigilance, but the stuff never showed up. It says here the shipment was diverted on orders of the Department of Homeland Security. The guy who signed the order, Irving Catcher, is in the private sector now. Maybe he knows what happened to the old shipment. How are we doing on time? Well, we leveled up. Let's go ahead and go to Talos Island and talk to Luminary and level up, and I guess that is going to be the end of this episode since we're at about a half hour. These things go by so fast. I'm just having such a ball playing this brute. Super fun. It feels pretty much just like playing a scrapper. To be honest, I don't pay any attention to the Fury bar because, you know, my normal mode of play, which is to be in Scrapper Lock, pretty much keeps it chunked up there. So I don't really worry about it too much. So, 2 slots. We are going to want to toggle this up, right? This is defense. I guess we'll keep doing even build 1. And what do we want here? I think we'll go 1 there. I mean, it doesn't matter super much, but Siphon Life uses more endurance, right? It uses 10. Shadow Punch only uses 4. So put endurance reducer on that, and then we'll do triple heals. If this were a single origin science, I would go ahead and throw it on there, but it's not. I don't see the point of buying the reduced endurance right now. We don't absolutely need it, and so we'll be fine without it. Alright, so next time, guys, we will continue this story arc. Until then, I am Scrapperlock, and this has been City of Heroes on the Rebirth server.